How's it going, Robin? I know that we've had a few other speakers here now, and my voice is not quite yet giving out, so I'm going to keep on going forward.
You're doing better than I am. I've already had a long day today, so.
Well, I appreciate you being here greatly. Would you like to introduce yourself and kind of what you do to everybody who might not know?
Robin Zuniga-Ortega. I'm the current chair of the Douglas County Democratic Committee. I followed the immediate past chair, who you talked to a little while ago, Ingrid Landis-Davis. I came to the county. I'm really new to the county. You got some longevity there. I'm one of the newcomers.
You're the new blood here?
I came in 2017, right after Trump was elected.
What a time to come in.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was planning to move here anyway. Didn't have anything to do with Trump. But when I got here, I was very upset about the elections and ran into a couple of women who were also like-minded, and we started a group called Douglas Women Unite.
Okay.
It was kind of a salon where we got together and talked about issues and did a lot of activism, went on protests, went to women's marches, made a little pink hat and thing. And I met Ingrid and some of the others from the Democratic Party as a result of that.
Okay, so that's kind of where those wires got crossed.
Yes.
Okay,
right? Or connection got made, right?
It depends on how tumultuous things are as to which one it is.
Right. It was fortuitous in any case, and I've met a lot of great people. I have a background in political science, and so I was always interested in that. I ran into one of my colleagues as part of the party who I'd gone to graduate school with. So,
okay.
And I didn't even know he was out here teaching. So it was a lot of fortuitous things that came together to bring me into the party. I've always believed in the power of local politics. And so it was really good for me to, not from the South, really. I moved here from Texas, but I grew up in Colorado. So I didn't really know anything about the South. In fact, my husband and I both still kind of pinch ourselves sometimes. How did we end up in Atlanta? But we did, and it was a good thing, So, sometimes
well, now you're here getting involved in the local politics.
Yeah, journeys that you don't expect. But it's been an incredible experience, because being in a county like Douglas, which is just the right size, and it's going through this transition from a rural county that was very highly Republican and conservative, and had these families that kind of had the grip on the county, with the doubling of population and so many people coming in from outside, their grip on the county was loosened.
Starts waning after a while.
It starts waning after a while. So, I agree with everything that Ingrid said, but one of the factors is demographics. Things start to change. Atlanta has been changing, and the area around Atlanta has been changing, because so many people have been moving in. And I know some of the older families probably are not too happy about that.
I mean, at the end of the day, though, we're all human beings.
And we're all Americans.
And adding extra perspectives into your local demographics is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing at all. It brings more vigor to the community. And so Kelly Robinson was talking about the issues in the community. We don't just work during the elections. One of the things that I find really exciting is that we work with the county government and the city. We lobby them. We go to their meetings. We find out what the issues are. We talk to them about the budget when we're happy with it, when we're unhappy with it. We've made a point of we have monthly meetings, which are very well attended these days. We have 60, 70 people show up on a Saturday, on a random Saturday to, well, they're not random, we schedule them, but they show up. But we've been doing topics. So we talk about things like the county budget. We talk about what's going on in the DA's office with alternative courts, the drug courts and things, and making sure that we understand what's happening, that they understand our concerns about whether it's really reaching the populations it needs to reach. And so we can have those kind of dynamic conversations, talking about housing and problems with housing. And seniors are there.
I think housing is probably one of the big things that is crushing everybody right now.
Yeah, one of the issues in Douglas County is we have a lot of seniors that need housing, and affordable housing, because seniors are on limited budgets. And so we've talked a lot about that at different times as we've had these meetings. So we don't just meet around the elections. We meet
It's a
all the
constant.
time.
You're effectively the heart that is moving the blood of the district around.
Right. And the more people that
Irrespective
get
of that.
involved, the more perspectives that we get, and the better that it is for the community, because then we can push for the kind of advocate for the kind of services
Mhm.
that you need. I mean, the lifeblood of politics of this country really is at the local level.
Mhm.
The things that get done that affect your everyday life happen at the local level. The state has a role, somewhat removed. They provide certain kinds of regulatory environment and money. And then the federal government, again, is another step removed. And they basically also provide just an environment in which the local government can function.
And most of your lay people tend to think that it's just the federal government.
That's right.
And they'll lay a lot of their blame at the federal government for something that they could have been participating in at the local.
Yes, I'm amazed by the things that they blame our president for.
Gas prices is one of them.
Gas prices, yes, as if they really have control over gas prices or inflation. Inflation came from macroeconomic sources that they had no control over. As a result of the pandemic and the decline of the logistics of moving
Like
things
our
around.
supply line started
Our
to
supply line deteriorated globally. They blame them for that inflation, but we did much better in this country than in other countries. Other countries had 30% inflation rate, and we're complaining about 9. I mean, really, sometimes it seems like we're kind of spoiled. I know that on a personal level, it affects us all, and we do feel it. And I understand that. I'm sympathetic with that, but sometimes it's good to be able to step back and take more of a macro view of things, not just your personal circumstance, but
you can't just go
in relation to other people, how you're doing.
Yeah, you can't just go, I'm getting a raw deal, this is the president's fault. Sometimes that is the case. Sometimes the president did give you a raw deal because they did an executive order that directly affected you, or they didn't veto a bill that would directly affect you. But when it's something very esoteric, like gas prices, like inflation, something that is very specific to something that they don't necessarily have 100% control over. But I think people, and you'll probably be able to offer a lot of perspective on this, because this is one of the strategies that gets used to disenfranchise voters. I feel like people like passing the buck sometimes more often than they like getting involved in determining where that buck goes. And I think there's definitely a concerted effort to make people feel like that's the correct thing to do, even though it arguably gets fewer things done. And it causes people to go out and vote less. It causes people to participate in democracy less.
Well, listen to Trump's rhetoric. If you elect me, you won't have to vote anymore. Yep. I'll just take care of everything.
Oh, I'll only be a dictator on day 1.
Yes, right. That's not democracy.
No, that's just terrifying.
Not freedom. And another thing is that freedom is responsibility. It's not just you get to do what you want to do. Freedom means that you have to take responsibility for your own community, for your life and your community, being involved in it and helping everybody in your community.
That's one of the things ex-chairman Kelly was trying to talk about a lot, is that sometimes it's not just that you have the ability to do things. It's not just could you do things. It's should you have done them.
Should you do it? Yes.
And just because something's within the scope of what you are able to do doesn't mean that you necessarily should do it. Yes, you can sit on the couch and not go advocate for your own civil rights, but should you do that? That's certainly the easier thing to do, but as your rights start eroding away, as living gets more and more expensive for you, maybe the reason to go out and advocate for yourself by canvassing, by helping out your local election, by talking with your local politicians and letting them know the things that concern you, maybe it might be time to start doing that. Maybe that's the thing you should be doing instead of sitting back and complaining on Twitter.
Well, and being involved at the local level, I think really can benefit people and get them out of that kind of attitude that they can't have any effect. Because I think when you focus on national politics and you think it's just
it feels very far away from you.
Very far away. You're not likely to go to Washington and lobby them. But if we can lobby locally, like you said, at the state capitol.
Yeah, I've gone to the Capitol. I've talked to some of our reps there.
But even more so, you can go to the county. We recently had a situation where anyway, we had some issues with our commissioners being attacked and indicted for some charges that they were subsequently found not guilty of. But in the meantime, the governor appointed Republicans to the county commission, even though this is a very strong Democratic county. Our representation was taken away from us for about a year and a half. And they went and created a budget that really nullified our mental health services in the county that
They
we
kind of
fought
ripped
so
away a
hard
lot of
for
their
over the
gains.
years. Yeah, they're just trying to, rip it away. It's like
So
the whole, we're not going to go back. That was what it felt like here, was we were being pushed back.
So how does that usually manifest? Because I know that it's very hard for people to envision how you convert a district from blue to red or red to blue. It's even harder for them to envision what happens when somebody tries to switch that around with subterfuge.
Well, that was an anti-democratic, gambit.
Yeah.
They had something that they thought that was going to stick on our commissioners, and they indicted them. Well, part of the law in the state is if you're indicted as a politician at the county level, the governor can suspend you. He has to do some things. I mean, it's not just
it's not a stamp and then you're done.
Right. He has to put a little commission together, but of course he can pick who those people are. So that he has control over that. And then he can suspend you, and he has the power to appoint. Well,
and that's how you get people who you fought to get in swapped out for people who you didn't advocate for.
Now, fortunately for us, they were found completely not guilty of any of the charges and are back. And that's just
but now they've got to spend time and tax dollars fighting back against the things that were eroded away.
Well, now we have to rebuild some of the things that were eroded.
No, and that's an infuriating thing to hear, because I feel like a lot of voters feel like once and again, I've talked about it a few times today, people feel like their responsibility for voting it begins and ends at the ballot box. A lot of people feel like, oh, I did my part. Why is everything going wrong? And I feel like that wears people down enough to where maybe they don't vote blue in the next election because they feel like, well, it didn't work out so well the last time. I think there's a concerted strategy to make Democratic voters feel that way.
There's also a tendency in this country, especially at the national level, I wouldn't say so much at the local level, but at the national level, to flip back and forth in elections. Like one cycle we have Republicans, the next cycle we have Democrats. And it seems like nothing gets done because we're not going in the same direction.
And at the local level, things tend to be a little more slow and stable.
That's correct. Yeah. So you can actually have a lot more impact on the local level. But it also, you're right, people don't understand that they can get involved at that level. And I think going back now, I'm not want to ramble now either, but one of the points that I was trying to make was that if you start working at the local level, you start getting some efficacy. You can start seeing that you can have an impact. And I think a lot of people, because they don't feel that they can have an impact at that big national level, they get discouraged and they don't do anything. So being able to organize at the local level and get people involved in things that directly affect their life, transportation. We got a bus service here that we had never had. And that was not easy. There was a lot of, the conservatives were making all kinds of really
who's going to pay for it?
Veiled racist comments. Well, I mean, you're going to bring in the bad element from Atlanta if the bus was within the county, for crying out loud.
But it's just for moving people around.
Right.
It's people who are disabled, who don't really have the ability, like they don't have a caretaker, for instance. And for them to get to the grocery store, it's cheaper to use public transportation than trying to spend hundreds of dollars a month on an Uber.
An Uber is going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
But not just the elderly. I see young people in this county, before we had the buses, walking to their work because they couldn't afford a car.
With the bus,
but it takes them a lot longer, right?
And it means that they are worn down more when they get to work.
Yeah. Having the bus means that they have better transportation to work, to get to a job and get to a job on time and be consistent, to take their children and go to the grocery store or whatever without having to walk all these miles to get there. You know, it's a service for our own community. Now, it started, unfortunately, right before the pandemic. So it has
public transportation took a hit everywhere during the pandemic.
A good thing. But we have a strong group that's running it, and it's coming back. So,
inopportune timing be damned.
Yeah. And so they could fight it all they want to and make these, comments like somebody's going to rob your house and get on the bus. What are they going to take stuff on the bus?
I've been seeing that
in logic is that?
It doesn't make any sense at all, because a lot of buses tend to have security cameras.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's just for the safety of the bus driver. So if somebody were to choose to get on a bus, the likelihood of them being caught actually increases, because that's
a vehicle.
No, not really. What are you going to do? Tell the bus driver, "Hey, I need you to speed up. The cops are behind us."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't think that's going to work out very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there's
it's ridiculous, but they make those. It's kind of the same strategy that Trump has. You make up these strange scenarios like cats being eaten.
And they're eating the cats in Springfield.
And as J.D. Vance said, well, I make it up to protect people because they need to know. So I make it up so that I scare people.
Yeah, I think his point, as dumb as it was, well, if that's what I need for people to pay attention to me, and like that's what a 3-year-old says.
Yeah,
a 3-year-old says, if I have to make up stories so mom pays attention to me, that's what they do, not what an elected official does.
Right. Well, and you're right. It's kind of a politics of immaturity. Is to say, if I'm not going to get what I want, I'm going to make up something until you.
And it's what makes it. It's politics of strength. It's politics of immaturity masquerading as politics of strength, where someone will go, "Oh no, they had the confidence to do that." And I'm like, no, a 3-year-old has the confidence to do stupid things. They don't have the maturity to know they shouldn't.
Right.
That's what Vance is doing. That's what Trump is doing.
Them when they're children, not to lie.
Yeah. but the person on the TV told me.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason we're not getting another Harris debate.
I'm sure there's a reason, because they don't think that he can handle it, and he can't. Well, she really trounced him good. So he doesn't want to be trounced again, and he doesn't do well at being defeated. So
he does not.
Know that he's immature. And the politics of immaturity it's sad that we have that in this society.
I know when I was a kid, I took an election class in the 6th grade. It was during the second Bush election, and I remember the term a mudslinging contest being told to me when I was growing up, and I didn't understand what that meant very well. Even though I was learning about politics at that time, I didn't understand the full context of what that was. In 2024, I feel like I understand it way better now.
Well, we have mudslinging to an art these days, so you can see it's pretty obvious.
So, out of curiosity, what are some of the current ways that have been utilized to try to dissuade voters from going to the polls? Because I know that, generally speaking, when we have more people go to the polls, more progressive causes tend to get pushed, because the country is more progressive.
We generally benefit from a higher turnout rate. Democrats have always benefited from higher turnout, and it's really been for a long time, since the Reagan administration, that the Republicans have used that as a strategy to try to dissuade people from voting and being involved. As I've said for many years, that it's very sad when one of the political actors in our society, as their strategy for winning, is to keep people out of the political process.
So which ways are they engaging in doing that now?
Well, right now we've got some pretty heavy things going on here in Georgia. All reports are that the Republican Party has targeted Georgia as an experiment to see how much they can wreak chaos in our election system.
How do they plan on doing that?
Well, they've taken over the State Board of Elections, for one thing.
I know that one. That one's terrifying on its own.
It is. It's terrifying. There was a ruling today, or almost a ruling today. The judge in one of the cases that's being brought about the certification, they passed a rule saying that any election board member could reasonably challenge the vote and vote not to certify. The judge in that case today gestured towards a ruling that they will be required to certify, that it is obligation to certify.
You're not going to be able to go, this signature looks a little wonky, therefore.
Right. So the decision about whether there was any impropriety is supposed to take place after the certification through the court process, not at the certification. So that looks like that's probably going to go our way.
We're not going to have to worry about this being stalled as much as we would have.
There still may be people that try to do it, even though they're being told that they have to do it by law. They don't always listen these days to the law. That some of them think that the law is just there as a suggestion. Unfortunately, I'm sad that that's the way that they feel. But
and there's an example brought up earlier.
Country, yes.
There was an example brought up earlier about one of the people on the election board taking votes home, saying, "Oh no, these look a little suspicious. I'm going to take them away from their designated location," which is a ludicrous thing to do.
And now what they do, if they're not in control, they try to allude to things like that happening, even though they're not, because they want to sow discord and distrust of elections, so that people will think, well, my vote doesn't count,
so then I shouldn't
because they're cheating, so I shouldn't vote. Ironically, it seems to work against them, because the people that buy that argument are their voters. The rest of the people who are buying that.
I think we would all benefit more if both parties became less conspiracy minded. But as long as one of those parties is more conspiracy minded right now, they are very likely to not turn out and vote, which, like you said, does work a little bit in our favor. I would prefer them all just be an educated voting populace. That would be better.
Much healthier country.
Yeah, it's a healthier thing when we all know what we're doing.
And if we can talk about real solutions together, rather than just arguing about mundane things that don't really matter, that we
us getting wedged against each other on issues.
Yeah. Some of these crazy things, like, that they come up with that really aren't solutions to problems at all. They're just yelling across, the void.
Yeah, just to hear themselves speak sometimes.
Right. And again, that's another thing that dissuades voters. So I know people, lots of stuff about Nazis and everything, but this telling a lie as many times as you can until people believe it, is a strategy to destroy democracy.
It actually was a strategy employed, ironically, by the Nazi Party. It was tell a lie, make it big, and then tell everybody that your opponent is guilty of it.
Right, and do it over and over again.
Until people believe it.
But the other part of that is that if you lie enough and people don't know what to believe, they start to pull back from political life.
They start to tune it out.
Yeah, because they don't know what to think. They don't know what's true and what's a lie. And that's the death knell to a democracy, because democracy depends on people having thoughtful conversations and all of the facts shared. And if you can't share facts, you don't have anything to talk about to come up with a solution.
But I thought you said we weren't going to fact check during the debate. You told me there wouldn't be fact checkers. I was live streaming and watching the debate on live stream, and my audience was watching. And when anything sus came up, I would just see my entire chat explode in all caps. People going, "That's not true. I'm literally looking it up right now."
And it's not true. And they said, "No, you said you were going to fact check me, but
don't fact check me, please."
How can you just sit there and listen to these bald-faced lies and not say anything? Because it's just so wrong and we're teaching our children that it's okay to lie to get what you want. That's not something I would ever teach.
It gets even worse when you consider that there's an aspect of politics right now that didn't exist pre-2016.
That's true.
And that aspect is the individual influencer in politics, the Twitter star, the TikTok star.
You?
Yeah, basically. I wish my job didn't exist. That's where I'm at right now. Where there are people who don't have any kind of journalistic integrity and are able to make up the same claims. And unlike someone like JD Vance, who has a rapport just because he's a politician, when you're a content creator, people get a parasocial relationship with you. They feel like they know you when oftentimes they don't. And so when you say something, they'll put weight on your words. That's an aspect we're having to deal with right now.
And the attacks on traditional journalism are another anti-democratic movement. We rely on that fourth estate, the journalists, to do investigative reporting and to make the facts bare for people so that they can make good judgments. And when we question their integrity, when we have news organizations that aren't operating with integrity, we lose that common shared understanding of the facts.
I think we can name a few of those news organizations off the top of our head.
Yes, we can. I'm not going to, but I can.
No, but I think we're probably thinking of the same ones. But it is unfortunate, and I think it does lead to people getting more. Yeah, you get two sides of it. You get people who get more disenfranchised, obviously, who feel like their vote doesn't count as much. And then the other side of that, when you have people who are lying more, who are not reporting facts very accurately, you get people who get turned into extremists on the bare opposite side of that, which is the other thing we don't really want. We want people who are informed, effective, and will operate with composure. If people are disenfranchised, they don't operate at all. And when people are turned to extremism, they operate in a way that is often violent.
Right.
And
we
doesn't help us.
More polarized, that we don't listen to each other because we're listening in our own community, our own
we have a caricature of who the person is before we listen to them.
Yes. And we don't hear the other side. So we don't have a discussion. We're not having discussions. We're talking
past each other. No, which isn't very helpful for any level of politics at all.
Well, let me go back to the whole, how are they disenfranchising? Because there's another thing that's going on that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned.
Sure.
That's been going on. We have a very strong voter protection office with the Democratic Party of Georgia, and this year I think they're especially effective. They've been working a lot with the state election board, but other things too have come up. So recently, I don't know, we know there are issues with the post office, but the Secretary of State started sending out letters to voters to confirm their address because they claimed that voter cards were being returned. And what they did was send out these forms saying, we've sent you mail and you haven't responded, so you need to respond, or you're going to, basically saying you're good. They didn't say it so much because it's not true.
Because they legally can't
legally take you off. But voters that are not well engaged are calling me going, what happened to my registration?
Yeah, they're just going to skim through it and go, oh, well, I guess I'm not able to vote this year.
Yeah,
that happened to me years ago when I was fresh out of high school and I didn't know any better. I moved into Marietta, and I thought that I wasn't able to vote because I hadn't done all of my proper paperwork. I didn't realize that literally all you have to do is go onto the Georgia website and look at where your voter location is. Right. And in the event that that's too difficult, which for some people it might be, you can go to any polling area and they will tell you where your voting area is supposed to be. They'll look up your name and your social, and they'll go, oh, your voting area is here. This is your polling location. Just head over there.
Well, it's really easy these days to check first to make sure you're registered. Okay, so some people got these and they're thinking they're not registered anymore because, I didn't get
my registration failed off.
There were large numbers of these that went out in some places. Now, within 90 days of an election, it's federal law that you cannot drop people from the rolls, but people's perceptions of whether they're registered or not is just as important as whether they are.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be actually true. It just needs to be felt as if it's true.
We're trying to get the message out to people that if you got one of those letters, it doesn't mean that you're dropped from the rolls. You can still vote. And in fact, the poll workers won't even see if you have an inactive status. Inactive just means that they don't have any record of you voting or your address is bad. You can still go and vote and nobody's going to stop you from voting. And you don't even have to do a provisional ballot. Just go and vote.
Just go and do it.
Yes. And you can look up your registration. In fact, we urge everybody to check their registration several times before the registration deadline. They can go simply to iwillvote.com. It asks you if you're a Georgia resident, and then it takes you to the My Georgia Vote My Georgia voting page. So you can look up your own registration. On there, you can see where your precinct is. And if even on I Will Vote, you can even order your absentee ballot. Mm-hmm. So they've made things so easy with the technology that we have today to do that.
It does bring us to one other aspect of this. Not only do people need to know they can be registered to vote, but if you've already voted, if you've already done that, there is one other thing that's kind of needed right now as we're a little worried about the election process this year. You mentioned previously to me that we need more poll watchers.
Yes,
right now. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. We always recruit poll watchers because we want to make sure that everything's going all right at the polls. We don't want anybody to come to a poll and have a poll worker turn them away because of some, obscure reason that
some little idiosyncrasy that doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. So we have people that are trained as poll watchers. You do have to go through training. And again, as I said, our voter protection group this year is very proactive and very good. And they are looking for more poll watchers across the state. Now, we will assign people within our county, and there are other county chairs that will do the same thing. So if you want to just sign up in Paulding or Carroll or Douglas, you can do that, and you can tell them that's where you want to work, and we'll assign you to a polling location near your home. So we need people for early voting, Saturday voting, and election day. And, whatever you can work, we will use you. And you just need to you do need to take some training. And once you've done the training,
you need to know what to look out for.
Yes. And legally what your role is and what you can do and what you can't do.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we don't want the poll watchers interfering in the elections either. So they have to be well trained. If you do that, they certify you with our elections office, and then you can be a poll watcher. So we really, I gave you some information that you can send out to people.
That'll be available in the description of this video when this goes live on YouTube.
Okay, that'd be great. We also need people to do what they call ballot monitoring or ballot adjudication. So especially with in early voting is technically absentee voting, but when people mail in their absentee ballots, they have to look at them and make sure that all of the marks that are on it are readable and discernible, and that all the information is there. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, everything goes through, but then there'll be ones that have questions on them, and they need one.
You need to make sure that vote is able to count.
Right. They have us. We have to, as a Democratic Party, we recommend somebody to our county elections board who's a Democrat, and then there's a Republican that's also there, so that you have both parties represented to adjudicate those ballots. And they look at them and decide as a team. They have procedures for that. There's also training for that. And we will make that available to anybody that is willing to volunteer to do that work. We need people to do that kind of work too. And there will be that happening before and after the election.
Okay. Well, that's definitely going to be a helpful bit there to make sure that everything gets counted correctly. Because I think that is one thing that people get afraid of, especially with how much hubbub was brought up by Trump in the last election about mail-in votes being bad for whatever reason he wanted to make up that day, generally speaking.
Yes. Because they're not for me. That's usually what the problem was. Because during the pandemic,
why did all these votes spike up? Well, because that's when they got counted.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot that needs to be done. People think, there's canvassing and all this, but there's all kinds of other stuff, backroom stuff that needs to be done too, to make sure that the process works smoothly. And we want to make sure that democracy works. And so we want to make sure that we have the volunteers and the people who are responsible to make sure that everybody's vote counts, because that's what really matters, is that we are all counted.
Awesome.
In this process.
Well, I do want to thank you for all your time. I appreciate it a lot. Unless there's anything else that we haven't touched on that you might have wanted to bring up during this.
The only, I told you it's going to make an appeal. We have postcards. You saw us doing postcards.
Yep.
We were doing tons of postcards. Well, 56 cents for a postcard stamp. We still have about 4,000 postcards to go out.
That's
so
the price
we could
that
use
keeps
some
on spiking
donations.
up.
And if people want to send some postcard stamps to our P.O. Box, it's P.O. Box 55, Douglasville, Georgia 30134. They can send us some stamps because we could really use them.
I'll have the P.O. Box. Why am I saying post office box? I'll have a P.O. Box link in the description as well for anybody who wants to do that. Also, is there a website where people can donate so
yes,
that we can get some funds to do it here?
dcdems.org, which is the Democratic Committee of Douglas County. And we have an ActBlue link there. You can also donate there. Just make a little memo that it's for postcard stamps.
Awesome. And then that way the money will go exactly where people think it needs to go.
That's correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we have a goal as a community. When this goes up on YouTube, that sounds like about $2,000 for postcard stamps.
Yeah, it costs about $504 for 1,000 stamps. So it gets costly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what we can do as a community.
All
well,
right.
thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it a lot. Hey, just wanted to give a quick thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who help keep me afloat and help keep this channel going. YouTube and Twitch are wonderful platforms, but at the end of the day, stability is not one of their strong suits. If you want to support my channel, then obviously Patreon is one of the best ways of doing that. Link is in the description. But I do want to personally thank everybody who has contributed to the channel. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Autumn and Angel, Nixie Chan, Agamotto, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fire Shard. And everyone else who supports my channel and lets me do what I do full time. This is a dream job of mine that I never believed that I would be able to take full time, and with your help, I've been able to do it. So thank you so very much for that. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you all enjoy, and I hope you all are having a wonderful time. I will see you all in the next one, hopefully.